Hello! Happy Wednesday, everybody. I am doing my tea break chat this afternoon this week. And actually, I think I might make this as a change going forward for a little while, move these sessions to the afternoon. So hopefully this works out. But I know lots of people watch on the replay anyway. But here we are, Wednesday afternoon. Hi. So, what's been going on this week? What do I want to talk to you guys about? Well, the big thing is that I have just been recording some of the modules for the Divorcee Dating, which drops on Friday. And yesterday I was no good at my math, and I was like, it's Tuesday, Friday's 4 days a week. It was 3. Now I know today is Wednesday, Friday's 2 days away. Look at me learning math. So I've just recorded 2 of those lessons, and there's 1 more left to do. And so that's kind of been like the big focus on my mind right now. Although I was laughing. So at one point in these tea break chats, somebody asked me about procrastinating. And my response was about kind of accepting if that's how you work, that's how you work. And rather than trying to fight against it, just knowing it. And I was really thinking about that this week as I was laughing at myself, saying, all right, so when I first launched the Divorcee program and I launched the doubting and the divorcing stages, and I launched them on December 2nd. And at the time I said the dating phase will come in January. And I never gave a date in January, I just said it will come in January. But in my head, it was probably going to be near the beginning of the month. But I never gave a date. And so the month crept on and on and on, and then it was like, oh no, it's going to be the end of January. Quick, get the program out. So yes, I do procrastinate. Here we are. It's going to be launching on the 27th of January, which, to be fair, is 4 days before the end of the month. So I'm still early, really. And similarly, it's only 2 days before the launch, and I'm recording the lessons, and I don't do things early, even as self-employed, getting to set my own schedule. In fact, maybe more so, self-employed, getting to set my own schedule. I'm used to working to deadlines, and I'm used to working to, it gets done when it needs to get done. So if it doesn't need to get done, then it might be a bit of a struggle. Whereas if once I tell people, this is the date, and there's a deadline, then I get it done, of course. So that's where I'm at this week, is doing all of the last minute stuff, trying to do things really rather, quickly, rather than nice and spacious, and you'd think I've had 2 months to get these done. Nope, it's all happening this week. I will finish writing the 3rd module and get it recorded and get it all up and live on the website by Friday. But I can promise you this, and as with so many of us procrastinators will know this, that we do our best work when under pressure. These lessons are incredible. That's where they're going to be amazing. But in addition to all of that, so as you can probably hear, I'm a bit stuffed up. I came down with a cold over the weekend, but I think it's not too bad. So this one I'm hoping can last shorter than most of mine do. I've got lemon and honey water, which I've been drinking like it's on tap. I've got various medicines. I've got all the vitamins. I'm trying to get plenty of sleep. And sometimes, a cold or a sickness can just like really take you out. But this time, we're doing all right. I'm doing okay. But it did lead to, and if you saw my stories on Sunday, it led to a first for me in the dating world this week, which was in the past when I've been dating somebody. I don't get sick all that often anyway, but when I've been sick, I just haven't really gone to see people or gone on dates because they don't need to see me like this, do they? But this week, even though I was sick, I had plans with somebody who I'm dating on Sunday, and I went anyway. We rearranged the plans a little bit. We've been planning to go out for a long walk with the dog that he's dog sitting for, but it was freezing cold, and when he found out that I wasn't feeling well, he said, let's just stay in and make sure that you stay warm and cozy. So that's what we did. We played a game. It's just I don't know what it's actually called, but it's like an escape room, but in a game form, it's not quite a board game, because it's not like a board game that you move pieces around to board, but it was an actual, this box arrived at the house, like you buy a game, and then there was a lock on it, and you had to go and solve the clues, and it was really well done. And I like escape rooms, although I haven't done one for a while now, but I like escape rooms. And I'd done like a totally online version, way back in lockdown, but done like a totally online version, whereas this was this cool kind of home version, but it was across. We had to like go on some websites and do things on there. One point we had to like send an actual email to this Gmail address, and got an automatic response with another clue in it. But we also had all this stuff in our hands to be, messing with in the deck of cards and all kinds of stuff. So that was a long tangent to say that it was this really cool game that we played, and it took us, I'd like to blame it on foggy cold brain, but probably it would have taken us just as long anyway, but it took us a good couple hours. But that was a really fun thing to do, and then we just watched a movie and cozied up, and he made me a lemon sip, and it was really nice to do that first, that like having a sick day with somebody I'm dating, and to sort of like let him, I won't say he was like totally nursing me, but it means like he wasn't taking care of me as such, but the way that he changed the plans to make sure I stayed warm. He made me the lemon sip. He bought me Reese's peanut butter cups because they're my favorite. And to let him do that, and to let him see me when I wasn't on top form, I wasn't like my normal bubbly outgoing self. I was just quieter and a bit like blowing my nose all the time, washing my hands all the time, and a bit, and that was okay. It was really cool to be able to do that. So that's kind of, I think those two things have been my week. Being a bit ill, showing up, dating somebody, being a bit ill for the first time, having a sick day with somebody, and then, procrastinating on my dating program, getting it all done last minute. But it's going to be so good. Have I mentioned that? Have I mentioned it's going to be so good? Because I'm super jazzed about it. I've recorded 2 of the lessons, and they're super awesome. But I think that stuff has kind of been... No, actually, there is one other thing that I wanted to talk about this week. Another big thing that has been noteworthy this week is just taking a moment to kind of pause and recognize where I'm at with my co-parenting relationship. Because things are pretty good. They've been pretty good for a while. Sort of hesitant to say it in case I jinx it, but they've been pretty good for a while. And even so, and like my mom said this week, she's like, it's nice that you guys don't have any conflict right now and that things are going so well. And I point out that actually we do have a point of conflict. We are disagreeing, like fundamental disagreement on the summer holidays and the schedule that we're going to have. And at the moment we are at loggerheads with it. I don't like their plan. They don't like my plan. Our 2 plans are mutually exclusive. They cannot both happen. And we are, trying to figure out our way forward. But even with that, things are still good between us. And that is new. So in the past, when we've had conflicts like this, it's made things tense between us in the other areas too. And I just want to, really just stop and recognize that this is so different from that. Like we are communicating well. We are helping each other out where we need to. We are just really feels the moment like we're kind of in a really good stride with things. And that even though we're disagreeing about the summer holiday schedule, it's not going to, whereas in the past it felt like the worst thing in the world when we disagreed, and it was like, it was a big thing, whereas now it's like, okay, we disagree, but we're gonna find a way through it. Like, this isn't going to hurt our relationship. If anything, all of the many disagreements we've had in the past strengthen our relationship. They are making us better communicators with each other. We are learning every time. Is it super fun? No. Do I wish that for once we could set a schedule without disagreeing about it? Yup, that would be great. But so far, we can't. So far, we've always got this one issue, and it comes up over and over. But we're getting through it like healthy, civilized adults. And in the meantime, we laugh and joke and talk about our kids and tell funny stories about what's going on, not just with my 2, but with his partner's kids as well. You know, the other day when I dropped off a bag of toys, his partner was the only one home. We spent 10 minutes chatting about like the funny things that all 4 kids had done when they were sleeping the night before. And that just feels like such a good place to be in. So yeah, that's also what's been going on. I mean, that's like a long-term thing, but yeah, this week has just felt like let's just stop and recognize this kind of moment. So that's that. But I am going to move on to the question part because I've got a couple questions, well, a few questions this week, and they're all really good questions. So I'm going to go straight into those now. And I always just pretty much just, you know, I kind of answer these like in the order they come in. They're not in any special prearranged order or anything when I'm answering these. So they're just as I get them. So the first question that I had is, do you get moments of fear as a coach, and have you always been your confident self? And this one I know is from somebody who is playing with the idea of starting to do some coaching of their own, perhaps. And so this question of, do you get moments of fear as a coach, and have you always been your confident self? Absolutely, I get moments of fear as a coach, and I think we all do. I certainly hear it from my coaches who have been doing it for longer and who make a shitload more money than I do. You know, they are what I consider to be like way up there in the industry. And I know that they still get moments of fear. So I don't think that this is something that ever goes away. And like, I don't feel bad admitting that because, yeah, this is just a normal part. We all get this in whatever we're doing. So sometimes do I get questions where I'm like, I'm not sure I know how to handle that? Yep. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I think, oh my goodness, am I the best person to handle this? But when that happens, I go back to either a reminder that this person is working with me, they've hired me because they trust what I have to say and the way that I can lead them through it. If they wanted to work with another coach, they absolutely could, but they've chosen me because they think that I am the right person to lead them through this. So let's just be me and lead them through this. And I also have my coach in my back pocket, so I can like drop in and ask her questions sometimes. And this is kind of in the way that, like, you know, most like personal trainers have their own personal trainer. Most therapists have their own therapist. Doctors don't doctor themselves. They go see other doctors. Like, you know, coaches almost always have a coach that they work with as well. And so if there's something that I really am like, I don't know how to handle this, I go to my coach and she can help guide me into how to coach my clients. So, and at the end of the day, if I mess something up, I will work to rectify it. I am human. I'm going to mess things up sometimes. And I'm always perfectly clear with everybody, with all of you, with my clients on that I might get something wrong. But if I do, let's talk about it. Let's rectify it. Let's figure out a way forward together. Let's not hide from it or be ashamed of it or terrified. Let's just work our way through it. So, yep, it can be scary, and the last thing I want to do is ever do any harm to my clients in any kind of way, or whatever that may be, or mess something up. But I'm human, and it's gonna happen at some point, and that's why I've got my support network, and that's why I do that. You kind of also asked 2 questions in one there, and I only addressed the first bit. I didn't really address the have you always been your confident self. That one's actually a little bit of a tricky one for me to answer. Confidence is not like a one-time solid thing. It is very much, in my view, a fluid kind of concept. So I probably, if you asked people in my life through my whole life, they probably would say that I've always been a fairly confident person. Yes, like I've always been fairly outgoing in a lot of circumstances. Not all of them. Sometimes I'm quieter and more reserved. Sometimes I don't say a lot. But in a lot of cases, I'm generally fairly outgoing. I've generally, I would say most people would think that. But have I always had doubts, and have I always questioned whether it was enough and stuff like that? Also, yes. And there's always stuff that I'm not sure about, and stuff I don't know how to do, and things that I'm afraid to try, and there's always been stuff like that. So, and less of that as I go through all of this work. Like, I am way more grounded in my confidence and my self-confidence now, but I think I always came off as confident, and now it's a much more grounded, rooted confidence and belief in myself than ever has been before. Before it was probably fairly unfounded and a bit like, well, I mean, kids, like, you know, it's a lot of times, kids' confidence is not necessarily founded on anything. It just is like a lovely childlike arrogance. And I probably had some of that. Whereas, yeah, now I feel much more self-trust and self-belief behind my confidence. I'm going to stop and have a drink of my lemon water. Hang on. Okay, next question. And I don't have any context behind this. So the question is the high road always the best road to take? And without knowing the context to that, I should have asked for some more background on this, but I'm going to do my best to answer this one because I do like the question. Is the high road always the best road to take? Yes, in theory. And it depends what that means. So yes, it depends. I think that whenever, and I'm guessing that this means like if there's some point of conflict or some, you know, you maybe want to, for me what comes up is like, if I want to like lash out or yell at somebody or do something like maybe a bit underhanded, or it's usually the not high road involves me wanting to like hurt somebody else. And I don't mean physically with that, but you know, it's wanting to do something to spite somebody, to get back at them, to punish them, that's what comes to mind when I think of the low road, if you will. And if there's all this conflict and turmoil going on, the best answer is to check in with yourself, to check in with your soul queen. I haven't talked about soul queen as much lately, but I check in with my soul queen, my inside soul, and go, how do you want to handle this? You know, some people talk about it as your goddess, your inner goddess, however you refer to your highest self, your highest being, and checking in with her and saying, how do you want to handle this? What do you think is the best approach? And sometimes, so that's my main go-to. Sometimes I hear that answer and I don't like it. Like, I know that is what I should do, but I don't want to. My backup is and this came up a lot in my divorce process, is I would look to future Lindsey and go, how does future Lindsey gonna want to have handled this? Like, how do I want to look back on this moment and say I handled it? And between my soul queen, my inner soul queen, and my future self wanting to look back on it, I pretty much always want it to be the high road, like that, you know, that, yes, that's usually, if the alternative is, you know, like hurting somebody because you're hurt, that's never actually the best answer, is it? Like, that's never going to be the best answer. My it depends, though, is that sometimes, well, sometimes we just don't, because we're human, and sometimes we mess up and we take the low road, or we, you know, whatever it is, we don't always do it the way that our best self would, because we're human, and that's okay. We need to have compassion for that. But the other thing I would say is that sometimes, for me, again, when I think about this and I think about the high road, like, I can get a little bit confused between feeling like I have to take the high road and feeling like I can't say my actual truth. So I might, and again, this comes up most often in my co-parenting, where I might be really frustrated with something, and I'll go back to like earlier days rather than where we are now in our relationship, but because things are a lot less volatile these days. But back at the beginning, you know, like, I'd be really mad about something, and I would want to yell, and I'd go like, you know, no, Lindsey, take the high road, take the high road. But that would result in me then not saying the thing that needed to be said, and I would just keep it in. So I wouldn't voice my frustration about this thing, or I wouldn't say that this thing needed to change, or whatever it was. Like, I was keeping it in and trying to not rock the boat any more than it was already rocking, in my way of like, I'm going to take the high road here. But actually, this stuff needs to be said. So no, it was good that I didn't like shout it at him, but I still needed to learn the ways to kind of deal with difficult conversations. Whereas now this doesn't come up nearly as much, like really, really, really very rare these days, because although things still annoy me and, need to be said, now I've learned how to have those difficult conversations or say those things without it feeling like I need to lash out about it, I need to shout it, I need to punish you in some way, I need to get back at you in some way. I don't have that desire anymore because our whole emotional state has settled a lot, and because I now know how to have these conversations differently. So I don't know if that answers it for you, so let me know if it doesn't, but the short answer is the high road always the best road to take? Yeah, it probably is, but not at the expense of your own peace. Like, find a way to still express what needs to be expressed, find a healthy way to deal with the emotions. The high road does not mean bottling everything up and not rocking the boat at all costs. It means doing it in a way that isn't hurting somebody else just because you're hurt, if that makes sense. And then the final question, which is so relevant to what's going on now in terms of my programs, is how did you know you're ready to start dating after divorce? And I love this question because I actually often see in some of the other divorce-related Instagram accounts that I follow, I sometimes see people talk about how, like, you're never going to be ready. Just go out there and do it. You're never going to be ready. You got to just start. And I am not bashing them for saying that because that might be their experience. But my experience wasn't that. My experience was I did know when I was ready. Or at least I didn't know that I was ready. If you'd said, are you ready to date yet? I would have said, no, I don't think so. But I could feel this change inside of me. I moved from, there was a long period of, I wasn't even curious. Like, I was just straight up not interested in dating yet. I was busy trying to figure out my own life, keep my kids alive, get through lockdown, 2, 3, various periods of isolation, working on my own stuff, my own coaching, and I was just not interested in dating. And I also had my kids like all the time. And then we moved to, I didn't have them all the time, but I had them every night because they weren't sleeping over at their dad's yet. And so like logistically it was awful. It was going to be difficult to do. And I wasn't ready. And then at some point, I wasn't not ready anymore. At some point, I was like, I'm curious about this. Now I'm wondering what's out there in the dating world. And the change was definitely noticeable in me. I started looking around at all the men around me and wondering, like, just noticing men. And I don't mean like eyeing up all my friends' husbands or any of that crap where, like, I don't know, sometimes it's stereotyped that like the divorced woman's out to be a man-eater and like steal everyone's husbands. Like, obviously not that at all. But I just mean that my eyes were open again to the world. And I was like, oh, let's look around instead of just like living in my little bubble. I was like, let's just see who's out there in the world, shall we? And then I got curious about, because I got to a place where my co-parenting schedule changed and I had more time. So again, this is all from my experience. If you are a total single parent and you don't have anybody to co-parent with, your feelings and knowings and stuff is all going to be different than mine was. But for me, my co-parenting schedule changed where he was having the kids more often and I had more free time. And I suddenly felt like, I might want to spend some of this free time with men. Like, I've got my friends and I do things with them, but I might want to start going on dates with this free time and see what it's about. And it kind of just crept into my consciousness. And I was like, and none of this, like the really thing to be clear about, is that none of this was because I feel like I should. I feel like it's time. I feel bored without a man in my life. Like, I need somebody here. It wasn't any of that. And people had been asking me for, like, since the beginning, when are you going to start dating again? I was like, get lost. Not now. And then it was like, maybe soon. Maybe there's room for this in my life now. And then I was like, so one night, and it was like late at night, and I was like, all right, I'm not ready to start dating yet, but I'm curious what it would be like if I were to look at dating apps, because I'd also been saying like I wasn't interested in dating apps. It's like when I start dating, I don't want to go on the apps. Like I just want it to be, you know, a nice organic meet cute like you get in the movies. But I was like, I'm curious. Again, it was just that curious feeling of, I wonder what the apps are like. I'm gonna just take a look, like on Bumble, because I'd heard about that one and heard that that was the one where women have to make the first conversation. I was like, that sounds good. I'm not in this for like any unsolicited dick pics. Thank you very much. Like that was not what I wanted. I was like, I'm just curious what you know what it's like when you go on Bumble. Just go have a look, see what the apps are. Well, then it turns out you can't look at a dating app without setting up a profile. And suddenly, before I knew it, I had made a profile and was swiping, and I was like, well, turns out I've accidentally signed up for a dating site and made a profile, and I'm now engaging in conversation. And that first time when I did that, like, I was like, okay, this doesn't actually feel terrifying. Like, this feels kind of exciting and fun, and where is this gonna go? And I I chatted with somebody, and you know, I'll tell more of these stories in my dating after divorce story time on Friday. But the very first guy who I like struck up a conversation with and started chatting to, we arranged to go on a date, and he ghosted me. Like the first one, I was like, dude, is this what online dating is gonna be like? Like I knew that was a thing, but like that's not cool. So that was a bit cool. But then I started chatting to another guy, and we went out on a few dates. But I actually kind of quickly realized then, I was like, all right, this is kind of fun, but I still don't think I'm quite ready. And at that point, it was more logistics for me. We were going to be moving to 50-50. The girls were going to be sleeping over at their dad's house soon, but they weren't yet. And so it still felt like this is a big chore, trying to find time to date, trying to get a babysitter. I still don't love getting babysitters, especially when I knew I wasn't going to have to soon. So, like, I went on a few dates with this man, and he was, like, it was quite clear he was not going to be my exactly man. But it made me, I was so glad I tried, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not quite there yet. Like, I think emotionally I'm almost there, but logistically I'm not quite. And then a few months later, when we made the switch in our schedule and I had all that time, I was like, all right, I'm ready to do this now. I'm ready to dive in with both feet. So that's not really a concrete answer to that question of how did you know? That's really more of those super annoying, wishy-washy, I just kind of knew answers. But that is my answer. I would have told you, my brain would have said, no, I'm not ready yet. But my soul, my body, you know, my intuition knew that I was ready. I was like, okay, I'm curious, I'm excited, I'm open to finding out, and that's how I knew I was ready. So thank you for that question. That was fun to answer. They were all fun to answer. So I'm going to wrap up there. Like I was saying at the beginning, and honestly, you know, if you guys see this, you see my social media, so you probably know that I've got some fun dating stuff going on this week. So Friday is the free story time of Dating After a Divorce, where I'm going to tell some more of these kind of dating stories and some of the men I've dated and what I've learned from them, and just kind of an introduction to my dating life. So that is for free Friday at 2 o'clock English time, but there will be a recording afterwards. So sign up on the link, even if you can't make it live, sign up on the same link, and when the recording is available, you'll get that in your email. And then also on Friday, after the class is over, then the lessons from the Divorcee Dating program are going to drop as well. So there will be 3 lessons on there, and they will be coming up. They are, remember, if you buy any of the phases of the Divorcee program, so the doubting, the divorcing, and the dating, are £122 each for a single phase. So those are all up on my website. Even dating, even though the lessons aren't on there yet, you can buy it for pre-sale, and you'll be the first to get them straight away when they go up on Friday. If you want to share this with anybody, I would really greatly appreciate it. So I know that all of this stuff isn't stuff we necessarily talk about in great depth with all of our friends, which is why I am making these programs. But so if you can share any of my posts on your social media, so that the right people can hear about it. If you do have friends who you do know are going through any of this, any of the mess of divorce or dating, then send them the links as well. They might want to check it out. I'm getting some people signing up for the free class who are names that I don't recognize. They're totally new people to my world, and I'm so excited about this because that's exactly like, the right people need to hear about it. I know that not all of you need to have the divorcing classes, and that's great. I'm so glad that you don't all need it. But for those who do, we just need to find a way to make sure that they know about it, that they know it exists. So the more you can share any of my posts, whether it's, like I said, on social media, on your stories, with friends directly, whatever, I would really, really be grateful for that. And of course, there's always one-to-one coaching with me, not divorce related. So even if you're not divorcing, if you want to work with me in one-to-one coaching, I am so totally here for that and cannot wait to do life-changing, magical things with you for that too. So send me a message if you want to talk about that. Right. As always, leave messages in the comments if you want to. Send me a message. Let's continue the conversation. Let me know what comes up with any of this, and we will chat soon. Next week might be a bit of a funny week because the teachers are on strike and school is closed on Wednesday, so I'm figuring out schedules for that, but I will let you know what next Wednesday will look like. Okay, in the meantime, lots of love. See you soon. Bye.